Florida Congressman Greg Steube. Congressman, it's good to see you. Thanks very much for being here. What's your reaction to all of this? I mean, these plans could not be more different. I want to get your take on the impact of Kamala Harris's economic ideas versus Donald Trump's.
Yeah, the difference couldn't be more stark for the American people. Kamala Harris wants more regulation, more spending, more taxes, and more government, and Donald Trump wants less of all of that. And those business leaders are exactly right. If TCJA expires at the end of next year, which Kamala Harris has already said that she is willing and wants to do, she's going to let TCJA expire, that means a 20% increase to every small business in America in the federal income tax base. Trump wants to take it further and reduce S Corps, C Corps, and that 15% rate on manufacturing if it's made in America, significantly reducing taxes on American manufacturing. Kamala Harris would go the opposite direction. And just like you said, the facts bear that out. For them to say that the economy under Trump was worse than it is under Biden-Harris is an absolute lie.
Yeah, I mean, it's so disingenuous. Of course, that's easily checkable, by the way. But then there's the border. The vice president finally visiting the southern border, stopping by Friday afternoon during her Arizona visit, looking to turn the tide on all the criticism over the weak Biden-Harris border policy and vowing as president to revive that border security bill that failed to pass. This as she lags behind Donald Trump on immigration in the latest Fox News polls. Your thoughts on the border trip? I mean, she did not visit the border at all during the 4 years in office as vice president, but she's going now with, 39 days before Election Day.
Yeah, of course. It's political now. She wants to say she's tough on the border because they know it's a political liability going into November. This woman has been the border czar of our country for almost 4 years, has overseen the invasion of our southern border of over 12 million illegals that have come into our country, over 380 known terrorists, criminals, rapists, murderers, more than 50,000 Chinese Communist Party people, over 30,000 Russians, all have come in under her border czar leadership, if you want to call it that. It has made America less safe. Even their own FBI director has said that the risk of a terrorist attack in the country is high because of their policies. And now they know it's a liability, so she's trying to do a stunt at the border, saying she'll be tough on the border. Every American knows exactly what the last 4 years has been, will be another 4 years of it, and even worse.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the 50,000 Chinese nationals who've come into the country in the last 2 years. What do you think they're here for? Because they're not exactly, running from persecution, and you can't just pick up and leave China and say, hey, I'm going to go live in America. You've got to get approval. Are they being directed here, and for what purpose?
Yeah, 100%. And it's to have spies or infiltrate. I mean, Chinese Communist Party is the #1 national security threat to the United States. And they know the border's wide open. So our enemies are sending people by the thousands to come into our borders. So they have agents all across our country. And don't believe my word for it. Believe Director Wray, who testified before the Senate committee not too long ago about the terrorist threat level is at high alert.
Congressman, we also want to ask you about this tropical storm. Your district, of course, is on the west coast of Florida, from Sarasota to just north of Fort Myers. How's everyone faring from this hurricane turned tropical storm?
Yeah, in my district, it is devastating tidal surge, coastal flooding. If you were living on the beach or near the water, we had 5 to 7 feet of storm surge. A lot of that went into people's houses. Obviously, roads are still flooded and all of those sorts of things. Where the catastrophic wind was where it landed up in the Big Bend area of the state of Florida. We experienced in my district in Southwest Florida winds of about 60 to 70 miles an hour. But for us, this storm was the storm surge that caused a tremendous amount of damage.
Well, you've been pushing this disaster tax relief legislation since Ian's landfall 2 years ago. It's still stuck in the Senate. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, and we hoped that it was going to get out this week out of the Senate. It has passed the House with overwhelming bipartisan support. It would help any American that was in a federally declared natural disaster area deduct their expenses from their taxes all the way back to 2020. Well, bill hasn't been passed since then. I've been working on this ever since Hurricane Ian. It has passed the House. It's sitting in the Senate. We've been told that the remainder of people that had holds on it have pulled that back. But now, since the Senate Senate's left and the House is left, we won't be able to get that on the quote unquote hotline until we get back after the elections. But hopefully by the end of this year, Americans that have been affected by a natural disaster can deduct those expenses on their taxes. And for people like in my district, you'd have to do an amended return for the year of the storm. So people watching that, make sure that you realize that.
Yeah, that's a great point. Congressman, it's good to see you. Thanks very much.
Yeah, anytime.